Greetings, everyone. I'm grateful to be today here in your midst to share a wonderful, wonderful word. Not to waste too much time. Today, I'm going to be sharing on something that we take for granted, but it plays a huge role in our lives. If you are one individual that has come to a place of truth, definitely the one question you've asked yourself is this. Maybe you are one person that has explored the world and has been through all the places. Or maybe you are another individual that is a certain type of thinker, or whatever the case may be. Yet a part of you keeps not feeling fulfilled, or rather, let me say, satisfied. So one wonders then if that's the case, where you are an individual who has gotten to a point where nothing can truly really give you satisfaction. You wonder, how long can that be? There are cases of suicide that we talk of that are obviously out of depression of sadness and all that, but we never talk about also the different types of suicide where one individual has exhausted every sort or form of good things, and yet they still don't have satisfaction. And because of that, one is driven to take his or her own life. So just to maybe give you guys an example of what I'm talking about, so you have an understanding. I'm speaking of certain individuals who, maybe for an example, you might be or know of an individual that maybe took one drug, and that one drug was no longer, it was exciting at first, but at some point it stopped becoming exciting. So you had to go then look for another one, and so forth, until you get to a point where you realize nothing is ever exciting. Or maybe you went from one club to another club looking for true satisfaction. It was exciting. A few months later, it's boring. You need something else. Or maybe not to make it too dark. Maybe you are one individual that has purchased a car, and you find yourself not satisfied, and all of a sudden, after you have longed for this car, and you've found and managed a way to purchase it for yourself, now you are no longer even satisfied with your own car. You still now lust for another person's car. So I'm speaking of such cases. Yours might be different. We need to go to a point, or the root behind this, because not everything is exposed to us. Not every important or relevant information for our lives today is exposed to us. There is something that is happening, and it's not being addressed. A disease of the mind, if I could say that. And psychologists have been there for years, yet it's not helping. And this has even worked with corporates. You have corporate companies. For example, you have your Samsung or Apple. They release one iPhone, and they release another one, and they release another one year after year, because people are not satisfied. There's something they intentionally tapped into. And if you are not aware of this, you will forever be the slave to that situation. Now, one must get into explaining this properly to separate certain things. The real thing and understanding that you firstly need to have is the difference between your flesh, or maybe your body and your soul. You see, many of us tend to think that the flesh, these urges come from the flesh. In reality, your body on its own is harmless. We tend to say, the reason why I'm yearning for this, or maybe I'm lusting over this, you think it comes from the flesh, as how Christians maybe have put this together. But the reality is that the term flesh, even in the Bible, is actually the soul. And because this is not church, I'm not going to dwell too deep and get there with you guys. But for now, you're gonna have to make your own study and take my word for it. Okay. Maybe you can come and join us on Sunday when we do our lives. But so when we are speaking of individuals that have understood the difference between the soul and the flesh, they know how to control their issues. We try to contain the body. We think it's the body. And we try to contain the urges thinking it's the body. Meanwhile, that thing is actually the soul. You see, let me just get into biblical terms here. When you saw Jesus coming to a well, and he found a woman there at a well, and he was thirsty, and he asked the lady to give him water to drink. And she had an issue, obviously, with him, culture differences and so forth. And he said to her, if you knew who it is that is speaking to you, you would have asked of me water to drink, and I would have given you water of life, and you would have never thirsted again. Right? And this topic is about literal water. Okay? She's talking about water. He's talking about water, but it's a different type of water that he's talking about. But she thinks that he's talking about the body. Meanwhile, Jesus, in his statement, he's referring to the soul. You see, the soul is the one that is constantly looking for more and more and more, and is never satisfied by the things of the world. It is not the body, it's the soul. So when he said, drink of my water of life, you will never thirst again, it is because from him he has found a way. And I know even most Christians struggle with this, but he has found a way to satisfy the soul. All right? Not to say when the soul is satisfied, it does not it need all these other things. It does not, your body that will not get thirsty for water. No. What he's talking about is he satisfies the soul, because the soul is constantly looking for something. It will always look for something that can quench its thirst. It will never be satisfied until it finds that source of satisfaction, right? Or that source of fulfillment, where now the soul is full. Okay? So you will think it's about the body being full. He's thirsty, so maybe he wants to just quench the thirst. But the thirst he's talking about is the one of the soul, where the soul is always seeking for something else. It gets the water today, but it wants another type of water tomorrow, to a point where normal water is no longer satisfying. Now it wants different type of water. And most people have gotten into the place where the soul is not even any more excited about what it's been feeding the body, or what it gets through the body. Okay? But people not being aware of this position, they end up in a place where now they keep looking for more and more, and depression comes in, and suicide comes in, and all that stuff happens. All these things are good. Okay? It is good to have all these wonderful things, right? Or whether it be money or whatever the case is. But there's something that goes beyond that. The real hunger you are having is in the soul. It is not in the body. And Jesus says something. He says, seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added. Because he knows what he has to offer to the soul will satisfy the soul. That when all these things then come, it is not a thing of it breaks you apart. Okay? Where now you want another thing, I'm never satisfied. You are satisfied even if you get to a level of, owning another Bentley company, all right? Even if you get to that level, but you can still come and still be satisfied and still progress from being maybe a billionaire to a trillionaire and so forth, okay? So this is what I'm dealing with today. Now, for me to continue, I'll give you a form of how actually, because I just told you that He has a way of satisfying the soul. So I'm going to try on the next episode to give you the practical way where your soul gets satisfied. And your body reads differently now. It behaves differently based on the soul. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. God bless you.